Hi guys, welcome to my new clip. Welcome to the Cozy Coat Bomber Hack Quilted special video today. And I've spent weeks, probably like 2 weeks, maybe 3, just piecing leftovers together. And it's all linens, and some of them are hand printed with like neon yellow. Most of them are like kind of beige, some are white. And I've had lots of these leftovers, so I've made first these kind of big free pieces, like free pieced, and then I turned them into 15 by 15 centimeters squares. And yes, more and more and more. It's kind of like, I feel like Dagobert Duck with all the money, but I have patchwork pieces. And so yeah, this is like really fun. They're like tiles and I play around with them, and I really like to try different layouts. I want to see what kind of patterns happen because yeah, they're all like brand new pieces, so it's super exciting. And I'm taking the paper pattern just to kind of check how it all fits and stuff. And yeah, mainly I'm kind of layouting and I'm kind of composing. And now I'm adding more pieces with kind of like the dominant yellow in there. And so again, I'm making a big freestyle piece. It's kind of like a tree trunk. It's like, no, like a log hut quilt. And yeah, so I just connect them like this. And a few on like 45 degrees. And then again, I turn them all into 15 by 15 squares. It looks like I have enough now, but let's see. So why not turn these scraps into more? So now I got like kind of the strong yellow in there and the neon yellow, and I'm trying it now in kind of like a cold light, and it's just amazing how the neon kind of pops. So now how to continue. What I want to do now is stitch up a quick 12, and I'm using calico. So you can see I've used the hip crop line with like 1 cm extra, and this is actually still a size S, and I'm really skinny, so I can fit that. So I'm supposed to stitch it up, but yeah. So now I'm just trying stuff out. Anyway, so there's an inch seam allowance for the shoulders and the armhole. So now I'm gonna stitch that up. I'm not gonna show that. It's just like easy open seam. And in the meantime, I've already kind of moved the patchwork over now, and the 12, the calico prototype, is underneath. So it's the perfect kind of flexible pattern template that I can pin my bits to. Yeah, so it's always really hard to decide kind of like what to stitch first and what to connect and not to get into trouble. So I've actually prepared my patchwork now, and there's still a few bits missing here, so I have to make more. And yeah, and also kind of figure out how to puzzle it together. You can see, so I've taken the base and I've actually stitched it together, so the shoulder seams and the sleeves, and it turns out completely flat, so that's really convenient. And now I'm using this kind of as a guide. And like this, I'm also hoping to not have any sort of shoulder seams, side seams, whatever. I mean, side seams, yes, but no shoulder and no armhole seams. So it becomes kind of all one, and the patchwork moves. Yeah, it's all under. Yeah, I'm very excited about this. So excited, but it is brilliant. Anyway, so I still have some work to do. So I did connect some of the tiles for the back. So the pieces, the back is kind of like done already. I cut that out of the video. It's already a super long video. And now I'm just piecing them all together and kind of row by row Yeah, it's a bit of a puzzle. It's kind of like, you know, what I meant about not getting into trouble is about not getting into kind of corners or something. So then the sewing becomes much harder. And yeah, step by step. So they're not all kind of like a grid. So I'm shifting them a little bit around because the effect is great and sometimes better lines connect. Yeah, it's all about composition, guys. It always is. So yeah, bit by bit. And the hardest part is to actually kind of remember where the piece came from. And it's looking good. So you can see it's still very bloxy. A little bit more. And yet another day, you can see like different outfits throughout the video because this was definitely like, yeah, one of these long projects. But then again, I didn't do super much every day, just like little bits. And you can see here, sometimes I've worked little triangles, for example, into some areas to get a little bit more material and these wedges at the sleeves there. And now I've kind of flipped it all around. So the patchwork is on the table and now I've placed the calico prototype on top of it and I can use it now to cut the shape kind of into like the clean pattern shape there. So taking all the bits off. Now this is where it becomes so convenient. So now that this is done, I'm gonna make some space and I'm gonna get my big piece of French terry. I'm saying single jersey all the time, but it's actually French terry. And now I'm placing it. So I'm placing now the calico with the patchwork right on top of it. And I'm kind of gonna transfer all the pins and I don't need the calico anymore. I'm gonna keep that for kind of the next cozy bomber. And now, yeah, so I want to be really neat about it, keep it really nice and flat. And look how brilliant it is. So the whole thing fits onto one big piece. So that's just great. So I don't have any seams except for the side seams. So think about it. You can make kind of like a cute, cozy bomber from like a quilt.
It looks
yeah.
so cool though.
Put the needle on the record.
I want to overlock the edges because it keeps all the layers neatly together. Normally I would just do kind of like a basting stitch, but since I'm using the French terry, I think the overlock is great. And I love my neon yellow. Just do it for the color, really. So everything is safe and secure, and I love it. So cool. So yeah, that really pops, like all that neon. So it's been a few days now and I've finally managed to finish the patchwork and also put the second layer now, which is a single jersey. And I've kind of overlocked the edges all around to keep it all safe. So, but now it's finally the time to top stitch and quilt. And I will first go for straight lines. So I'm using my big machine, like my regular industrial sewing machine, the good old Jack. And I'm just basically stitching in the ditch between the seams there, between all these patchwork seams. So I usually like to work myself kind of like from the middle towards the sides to avoid kind of pulling things the wrong way. So let's speed that up a little bit. And yeah, so this first round is mainly to keep everything in place, and then I will add another round of kind of more decorative free motion quilting.
Yes, they want to be in the video.
So that's my cute little old baby. He's already 12 and he's kind of ill. He has like really bad time with pollution here in Bangkok. So now I've done my free motion quilting, which I love. So I was playing with these like, yeah, round shapes, just these circles. Kind of looks like scales or clouds. And now I need some bias tape. So I'm already working on some bias binding now. The jacket looks pretty dope. And I prepared kind of the waistband. For today though, the evening task is bias tape. And I sometimes chat with customers, and even though you don't feel like you have the time, I do it like every day a little bit, and I make tiny tasks even though my schedule is very busy, working 2 jobs, hopefully quitting one of them, and keeping this one, of course. Yeah, I just do little bits, and after a few days I just end up with a new garment, sometimes a few weeks, but it's really better than nothing, and it doesn't give this like enormous pressure of kind of making a whole day or two to kind of finish something, which can become very stressful, especially after like a few hours in, and it's better to take a break anyway. So why not just split it into tasks and just keep on working, kind of steady pace, and in the end you come out with something nice. So let's finish that bias tape real quick. I'm always using this continuous bias tape strategy. You can find it in most of my patterns. And yeah, one thing, so the most important thing is actually when you do the second seam to really line up the lines. So I'm using the pin, and you want to exactly kind of hit the line so they completely kind of connected. Today I'm gonna do a little bit more of this, so I haven't shared that yet. I was bias binding the side seams, but there is still 2 of them left, so let's do that now. I've prepared tons of bias tape with the continuous bias tape hack, so let's do that. Oh god, I look such a mess. I actually had kind of like some dust that got into my eye, and I for a minute thought it's like a surfer eye and I will have this weird growth happening there, but thank god it wasn't, but I still had like a weird red eye the whole time. So first things first, let's bias bind that side seam there. And I'm stitching it with 1 cm, kind of like half an inch almost. And my bias tape is 3 cm. No, I think I did like a 2 inches. So I have kind of like 4 halves for the folding. So first round like this, and you can see the cutting lines in there. I wanna do it like this now, so I will fold it. This is kind of going to be the strategy, but before I can do it, I want to finger press everything so it kind of folds nicely, and then there is a strong curve under the arm, and I want to snip into the curve a little bit just to relax it. And now this is the side seam, so hardly anybody's gonna see it, so I'm just gonna do it real quick like this without much preparation. And yeah, so the pockets. So now I'm starting to think about pockets, and first I was thinking about putting the well pocket there, but then again I was like not really into having the pocket bag flapping around. So let's do the side seams first. I should have done the pockets now, but I couldn't decide. So side seams first, so this is really easy. Right sides on right sides, and then we just stitch along the bias tape kind of like 1.5 cm, which is 5/8 of an inch. So, I hope all the pins are out. You want to kind of open the seams a little bit, and then we can flip that now. So, I mean, you have to try. I have to try. Trying things on is the most important part. And I super enjoy it. I love this jacket already so much. Woo, strike a pose. Anyway.
So yeah, I mean, I still haven't. I do one pocket.
On a different note, let's do that waistband first. So I still haven't really made up my mind about the pocket. So waistband. So I've cut this waistband really simple. It's the same width as the jacket, and it's like 10 to 12 centimeters wide. I've patchworked it also from lots of different pieces. So I've stitched it with 1 cm or half an inch, and now I'm folding the bottom edge in by like 1 cm or half an inch, and now I'm bringing that up there. I'm matching it to the original kind of seam that connected the waistband to the body, and now I'm pinning it all in place, and now I'm actually transferring all the pins to the right side, to the outside, so I can stitch it now, kind of stitch it in the ditch. And in order to get that really nice, you want to actually overlap the original seam a little bit when you kind of bring the bottom up. And then we stitch it from the right side, and you can see I've been using my edge stitching footer forever. I'm actually edge stitching, I'm not stitching in the ditch. I love my neon, I want it to be really visible. And I'm coming to the end, I'm just cutting it clean, kind of. You can use a ruler too if you want. So I'm trying to keep the finishes really easy. So now I'm just gonna insert 4 cm elastic, which is like 1.5 inches or something, into the waistband. And then I'm fixing it on one side with pins. And now I'm actually going to try it on to check out how much elastic I want. Many times people ask me how much do I need, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, try it out, yo. It's best to try it, because then you can see exactly if it is what you want. Yep, I'm sold. So let's snip it off, pin it, and then fix it with the machine, kind of a couple of stitches. You can do some like pretty styles there too. Anyway, so now I finally made up my mind about the pocket, and there's a link in the description. You can find kind of nicer pieces and also that pocket bag on my website. So I've made this pocket now, which is kind of like a faced opening, and then it has just these pocket bags, and I want to finish these nice round pocket bags with bias tape. So I'm going to bind the edges, and then it's just going to be a single pocket bag that I will stitch to the inside of the jacket, and then the little facing just kind of cuts an opening right into the outside of the jacket. So it's really kind of integrated, which I love. So here are the pocket bags. I used some really nice hand-painted yellow, and let's stitch that facing. So I've made a nicer facing now for you guys to download, and I do recommend to overlock the edges or to make some kind of nicer edge finish, because I don't have that now, and you will see there's just gonna be like some raw edges dangling around. So we wanna do that kind of like a welted pocket, but we're not gonna make a welt. And we're just gonna stitch it with 0.5 cm, which is like 1/4 inch. A little bit less, and then we want to round it there at the ends, so kind of like round or whatever shape you want. It can also be kind of like a long almond shape or like eye shape or something like this. I was sort of experimenting a bit. So the idea is to just kind of if you've done my lazy pants, then this is exactly like the opening for the string. So we're just facing that hole, and we're gonna kind of cut right in there. So I've stitched the box, and now let's snip right into the center there. It's a couple of layers, and I'm using just some white linen actually. You can also interface it if you want, and then the edges are actually kind of finished a little bit from the glue. So cut close as possible as you can to the stitches, but don't cut into the stitches. And then the round bits at the end need a bit more cutting. So now I have this. Let's arrange it nicely, and let's flip and fold the facing towards the left side, towards the wrong side. inwards. And let's clip it and pin it in place. Finger pressing is the way to go. With linen, if you're using different material, you might have to like properly press it with an iron. But linen is very like you can kind of mold it and shape it. It's great. If the ends are not nice yet, you can kind of snip a little bit more. So now let's edge stitch, top stitch all around this faced opening. And this is a quilt, so let's be decorative about it. I'm doing like 2 lines, so it becomes a bit more kind of like graphic there. So this pocket is really kind of part of the quilting and I love it. So now the opening is done. Now let's place the pocket bag to the wrong side. And if you want to do that at home, so I have this pocket bag pattern and the opening is also marked on it. So you use the pocket bag as your guide and you can find your perfect position. I've positioned mine approximately like a 4 to 5 cm from the center front, and it's around 1 to 2 cm from the bottom there, from like the waist. And then, yeah, quite close to the center front because you want to be able to reach it with your hand. And now I've stitched the pocket bag from the wrong side and we get another kind of nice top stitch pattern. And well, next step, the cuffs. So I was kind of cheating for the cuffs. I could have done them much nicer, but I was really lazy and I hate to do elastic actually. So I've just made these tunnels and the elastic's already in there and I'm just kind of fishing for it. And I pull the elastic to the other side, stitch it in place, do one more. It's like a 2-in-1. So, and now I've overlocked that whole thing, and now I'm just stitching the ends together. So it's basically like an open seam with overlock. I could have kind of, yeah, hit it all, but oh, jeez. And then I'm just gonna stitch them to the sleeve. And the way I do it, I haven't pinned it. I just kind of find a starting point and I'm anchoring it with my needle in the machine. And then I'm giving it a bit of tension. So you have to pull it and you have to make it line up until you reach the other side. And yeah, the cuffs are also just as wide as the sleeve. And there we go. I love it. Time to check. So another night has passed, and the last thing now is, of course, I have to bind the edge with bias tape. So I will bind the edge with bias tape first and then take care of some buttons afterwards. But oh, I can't actually. I would love to work on this jacket forever. Yeah, so I made quite a substantial amount of bias tape for the side seams. I still had some. So now let's do the front. So I'm starting actually at the waist and give it a little bit more so we have something to kind of fold in later. And now again, so I have 1 cm there, so I actually want to be a bit more precise. So 1 cm, which I'm not always managing. And yeah, so this already at the crew neck and I really messed up those mitered corners. I don't know, I totally blacked out at that moment. And yeah, you will see. And it was supposed to be 1 cm, but I'm not really doing it. Another mitered corner that I'm really badly messing up. So now let's finger press this all open and ow. So that looks really bad. So I'm gonna unpick that. And I have unpicked it now and it's just getting worse. So I have to fix it by hand. So a couple of nifty hand stitches and I have, yeah, kind of made them a bit nicer now. Hop, hop, hop. The other one as well. And then, yeah, I've decided to just hand stitch now the entire bias binding for collar and front there, just to give it a really gorgeous finish, because I wasn't stitching very kind of precisely. It should have been 1 cm all the time, but I didn't manage. So then afterwards, it's kind of easier to sort of hand roll it, shape it now into like the best possible look. And also I didn't want to have the top stitch on the outside. Still haven't put any buttons, but I think I might just leave it like this. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time.